All right, so today we're going to be looking at presidential transitions,
Okay.
specifically Trump's return to the White House
Hmm.
and all the ripples it's causing over the Department of Justice.
Right.
Our main source material today is going to be this Politico article about Trump's pick for Attorney General.
Okay.
It's definitely a choice that's got people talking and asking a lot of questions.
It's always interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
These presidential transitions always bring some change.
Mm-hmm.
But this one,
This one feels different.
yeah, this one feels a little bit different.
There's this tension,
Yeah,
especially when we think about the DOJ.
exactly. And all the anticipation for what Trump might do.
Exactly. I mean, first we had that whole thing with Matt Gaetz,
Yeah.
you know,
Well, yeah.
the congressman who was Trump's first pick for the job,
Right.
but with the whole sex trafficking allegations and, his personality.
Oh, let's just say he's a colorful character.
Yeah, colorful is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
But for a lot of the career lawyers over the DOJ, Gaetz dropping out was a big relief.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, his confrontational style and all the controversies didn't exactly inspire confidence in his ability to lead the department fairly and impartially.
No, not at all.
No.
But then Trump kind of throws us a curveball
He does.
with his replacement, Pam Bondi.
The former Attorney General of Florida.
Exactly. And, she may not be as
And
fiery as Gaetz, but
Yeah.
she's still kind of a mystery.
For sure, especially for those folks inside the DOJ.
Right, and that's the big question mark here, isn't it?
It is.
We go from someone seen as openly problematic
Mhm.
to someone who's more of a blank slate,
Right.
and that makes people nervous.
It does. All this uncertainty leads to a whole other set of worries.
The Politico article really dives into this,
Yeah.
Some legal experts think Bondi could be like a, quote, more palatable Gaetz,
Interesting.
someone who might still push Trump's agenda, but without all the drama.
That's a really interesting theory. To understand that, though, we have to look back at Trump's history with the DOJ and what he wants to do with it.
Right.
I mean, he said many times he wants to go after anyone he sees as an enemy.
Mm-hmm. And that's a big concern.
That is a huge concern about the potential for prosecutions that are politically driven rather than, actually about justice.
Right, and that goes against everything the DOJ is supposed to be about.
Exactly.
Holding the law fairly and impartially.
Precisely. It's like there's this,
Dark cloud,
this dark cloud over everything.
like we know what Trump wants, but will Bondi go along with it?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah, the million-dollar question.
And the Politico piece captures that uncertainty really well.
It does.
There's this quote from a former prosecutor who asks, is she, quote, going to just be a somewhat more palatable, aesthetically more enhanced version of Gaetz or something else?
Yeah, it makes you wonder if the problem isn't just about what Bondi might do,
Right.
but also about whether things will get politicized in a more subtle way.
Exactly. A less obvious way.
And to really grasp that, we need to look closer at what Trump wants to do with the DOJ.
Yeah, how that might actually play out.
What's he really trying to achieve?
What tools might he use to do it?
Right, and it's not just about the Attorney General position itself.
Bro.
There are all these other appointments that are going to shape the DOJ.
Right. We've got the FBI posts those super important U.S. attorney positions. The whole structure of the department's kind of up in the air.
And every one of those appointments gives Trump a chance to put his stamp on the DOJ.
Yes, to reshape it how he sees fit.
We can't forget that bigger picture.
We can't, it's not just one person. It's about a possible system-wide change in how justice happens in this country.
You're right, it's about the whole system.
The whole system.
And to really understand that, we need to look past the headlines.
Yes.
And figure out what these personnel changes could actually mean.
Exactly. What will they mean for things like FBI investigations or how federal crimes get prosecuted?
Those are the real questions.
They are, and that's what we're going to be getting into in the next part of our deep dives.
Okay, go.
We're going to be looking at who's being considered for those other big positions within the DOJ and what their backgrounds might tell us about Trump's plans.
Okay, so just to recap.
Yeah.
We've got Gaetz out, Bondi in.
Yep.
And a ton of questions about Trump's vision for the DOJ.
A ton.
But before we get into the specifics of those other appointments,
Yeah.
I want to pause for a second and think about something that's been kind of overlooked in all this.
Oh, okay. What's that?
Merrick Garland's message to the DOJ lawyers.
Garland. That's interesting. He really embodies the traditional values of the Justice Department, right?
Yeah. Fairness and partiality.
Yeah.
Sticking to the rule of law.
It must be tough for him.
Oh, I bet.
After working so hard to rebuild trust in the DOJ, to
Mhm.
see it possibly handed over to someone who might undo all that.
And the Politico article says that Garland actually spoke to DOJ lawyers recently.
He did.
Yeah, he stressed how important the institution's integrity is. even when there's political pressure.
I can only imagine how much that message meant to them,
Yeah.
especially right now with all this change and uncertainty.
Right. It says a lot about what's going on inside the DOJ right now.
Definitely. And how anxious all the career lawyers and officials must be feeling.
It's like he's trying to prepare them for what might be coming.
Yeah.
Reminding them that they work for the Constitution and the rule of law.
Not for any politician or party.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's especially powerful given, Trump's history and how he's talked about using the DOJ for his own purposes.
Absolutely. It sets up this potential clash of ideologies.
Yeah.
A fight for what the Justice Department really stands for.
It's really fascinating and something we should explore more deeply.
They should.
But I think we'll pause here for now.
Okay.
When we come back, we'll dive into those other key appointments and what they could tell us about the future of the DOJ under Trump.
Sounds good.
All right.
Looking forward to it.
So we're back. And I think now it's time to really get into Trump's agenda for the DOJ. Because this isn't just about, who's in what job.
It's bigger than that.
Yeah. It's about how justice is done in this country.
You're absolutely right. We need to look back at what Trump's been saying,
Right.
both during his last presidency and on the campaign trail this time around.
Yeah, he's been pretty consistent with his message.
Oh, incredibly consistent.
I mean, remember all those lock her up chants at his rallies?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
It seems like he truly believes the DOJ should be used to go after his political opponents.
That's what's so concerning for anyone who believes in the DOJ as an independent force.
Right, like a neutral party.
Exactly. It's like the rules are changing, and no one knows what the new rules are.
And the Politico article talks about this fear a lot.
Yeah.
They quote a bunch of former prosecutors and legal experts who are really worried about these politically motivated investigations and prosecutions.
And it's not just, an abstract worry.
Right.
We've seen this before from Trump.
Like,
Remember when he tried to pressure the DOJ into investigating his opponents during his first term?
oh, yeah, and when he fired James Comey.
Exactly. These weren't just random things.
Right.
They were part of a pattern.
And now that he's back in the White House, it feels like he's just going to double down on all that.
Using the DOJ to silence anyone who criticizes him.
And to hold on to his power.
Exactly. And what's really scary is that he doesn't seem to care about the difference between a personal grudge and real law enforcement.
Yeah, he sees the DOJ as like his personal tool.
Right. Not as this independent institution that's supposed to be fair and impartial.
It's dangerous.
It really is. It could have huge consequences for the rule of law in this country.
Because if the DOJ becomes a way to get revenge,
Yeah.
then our whole justice system falls apart.
Exactly. And that brings us back to Pam Bondi.
Right.
Is she going to stand up to all this pressure and protect the DOJ's independence?
Or will she just go along with Trump's plan to use the DOJ for his own purposes?
That's the big question, and the Politico article doesn't give us any easy answers.
It doesn't. It paints her as this kind of mysterious figure.
Yeah.
We don't really know what she's going to do.
Some people say she's a pragmatist,
Okay.
a really good lawyer who can navigate these tricky situations.
Keep everyone happy.
Yeah. Maintain some independence while still doing what Trump wants.
But others are worried that she's basically just a nicer version of Matt Gaetz.
Right.
Someone who might be willing to bend the rules
Or break them.
to please Trump.
This debate really shows just how important this transition is.
Yeah.
The Attorney General is the most powerful law enforcement officer in the country.
Right. Their decisions affect millions of people.
Millions. And it's not just about Bondi herself.
It's about the whole structure of the DOJ.
Right. All those other positions that need to be filled.
Positions that could make Trump's influence even stronger.
And the Politico article gives us some hints about who might be in line for those jobs.
Yeah. Like for FBI director.
There's Mike Rogers and Kash Patel.
Two very different people.
Very different Rogers with his experience in Congress and the FBI.
He seems like the more traditional choice.
Right. Maybe someone who could bring both sides together.
But he's also been critical of Trump.
That's true. Which makes him less likely to be picked by a president who wants total loyalty.
And then there's Patel, who's a total Trump loyalist.
Through and through, he's been involved in some of the most controversial things Trump's done.
So if Patel becomes FBI director,
It would be a huge shift for the Bureau.
yeah, like they're not independent anymore.
Exactly. And we see the same thing with the U.S. attorney positions.
Those are the folks who actually handle the prosecutions, right?
Right. In their specific districts, they have a lot of power to decide which cases to pursue.
The Politico article mentions Julie Kelly.
Oh, yeah?
She wants a new U.S. attorney in D.C. who will drop the January 6 prosecutions.
That's a scary thought.
Yeah, it's like Trump wants to use these appointments to not just go after his enemies,
But to rewrite history.
to pretend January 6 didn't happen.
And to protect the people who were involved.
And it's not just D.C.
Right.
The article suggests he might do the same thing in other places like New York.
Where Trump has a lot of legal problems.
Exactly. And this strategy could actually work.
It's not this big, obvious power grab.
It's more subtle.
Yeah, a slow erosion of the DOJ's independence.
You put your people in the right spots.
Give them some vague instructions.
And let them cause chaos.
All under the cover of legitimate law enforcement.
It's a scary thought.
It is, but it makes me wonder, what about all the other lawyers and staff at the DOJ?
Yeah, how are they going to react to this?
The Politico article quotes one former prosecutor who says these appointments would be a real problem for the rank and file.
Right, they're the ones who do the actual work.
They investigate the cases, they build the arguments, they uphold the law every day.
Imagine how demoralizing it would be to see all your work being thrown away for political reasons.
It would be devastating. It could lead to a lot of people leaving the DOJ.
Which would make it even harder for them to do their jobs.
And we can't forget Merrick Garland's message to the DOJ lawyers.
Right in the middle of all this.
Talking about integrity and sticking to the rule of law, even when it's tough.
It's like he's begging them to stay strong.
To resist the pressure to give in to politics.
It reminds us that the DOJ isn't just about the people in charge.
It's about all the people who work there every day to make sure justice is done.
And their dedications can be really important in the next few years.
It is, because this fight for the DOJ is just starting.
And it's a really important fight.
It is a crucial fight.
We've talked a lot about the big picture stuff.
Yeah.
You know, Trump's agenda, politicization. But I want to get into the reads a little.
Okay.
The Politico article names some people being considered for these big roles, and their backgrounds are really interesting.
It's true, and the names themselves almost tell you what kind of DOJ Trump wants.
Yeah.
Like for FBI director.
Yeah, Mike Rogers versus Kash Patel.
What a contrast.
Right. Rogers has all the experience. Congressman, FBI agent. Seems like a safe choice.
You'd think so.
But the article says he hasn't always been a Trump fan.
And that's the key, isn't it?
Loyalty.
Loyalty over everything else.
For this administration.
And if we're talking loyalty, Kash Patel is like the definition of a Trump loyalist.
He's been there through everything.
Through it all.
So Patel is the FBI director. That's a big statement.
It is. It's basically saying the FBI now works for Trump.
Wow. What about the U.S. attorney positions, though?
Oh, those are huge.
They actually handle prosecutions, right?
They do. They're like mini attorneys general for their own districts.
So they have a lot of power.
They decide which cases to go after, how hard to prosecute, all that.
The article mentions Julie Kelly.
Right.
She wants a new U.S. attorney in D.C. who'll just get rid of all the January 6th cases.
That's a disturbing thought.
It is. It's like Trump's not just going after his enemies. He wants to change history.
To pretend January 6th never happened.
And protect the people who were there.
That's right. And it's not just D.C. either.
No, the article says he might do the same thing in other places like New York.
Makes sense. He's got a lot of problems there.
Legal problems, yeah.
Yeah.
And the scary thing is this strategy could actually work.
It's subtle. It's not this in-your-face power grab.
It's more sneaky.
It is. It's slowly chipping away at the DOJ's independence.
Put your people in the right spots.
Give them some vague orders.
And let them do whatever they want.
All under the guise of, following the law.
It's frightening. But what about the people who actually work at the DOJ?
The career lawyers and staff?
Yeah. What are they going to do about all this?
That's a good question. The Politico article quotes this former prosecutor who says these appointments would be a huge problem.
For the people who are actually doing the work.
Exactly, for the rank and file. They're the ones who investigate, who put the cases together.
They're the ones upholding the law every single day.
And imagine if they see their cases being dropped because of politics.
That would be terrible.
It would be demoralizing. It could lead to a lot of good people leaving.
Making it even harder for the DOJ to do its job.
Exactly. And this is where Merrick Garland's message comes in.
Right to the DOJ lawyers.
In the middle of all this chaos, he's talking about integrity, about following the rules even when it's hard.
He's basically saying, don't give up.
Yeah, don't let politics win.
It's a powerful message. It reminds us that the DOJ isn't just about the people at the top.
It's about everyone who works there, who believes in justice.
And their commitment is going to be so important.
It is, because this fight for the soul of the DOJ is just getting started.
So where does all this leave us?
Well, we've seen how Trump coming back could change the Department of Justice.
His agenda, his people, his way of doing things.
It could really transform this institution.
But there's still hope, right?
There is. We see it in the people who work at the DOJ.
The ones who are dedicated to doing the right thing.
And in leaders like Merrick Garland, who remind us that justice should be blind.
That it shouldn't matter who's in power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This deep dive has been a look inside a system that's changing a system facing huge challenges.
That's given us a lot to think about.
And even more to pay attention to.
What happens next is going to be crucial.
It is. And maybe the biggest question we should ask ourselves is, what are we going to do?
To protect our justice system.
To make sure our leaders are accountable and to make sure justice is truly blind.
That's a great question to leave us with.
It is a question for all of us.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We've got links to the Politico article and other resources in the show notes.
Check them out.
Stay informed, and let's keep talking about this.
Absolutely. This conversation is just beginning.